I wanted to share this video with you. I recently had an opportunity to sit down and connect over Zoom with Tamairo. And Tamairo is an incredibly interesting person. She's wonderfully authentic. And so I had this incredible opportunity to chat with a woman who went from being a school teacher to real estate investor to opening 4 brokerages in under 6 years. Her accomplishments in the real estate game are really, really impressive. So for those of you who are not agents who are watching this, in my coaching practice, I work with a lot of small business owners, a lot of whom are real estate agents. But for those of you who are not agents, maybe you're a business owner, or maybe you want to model successful thinking, feeling, and acting. I apologize for this glare. I don't know what's going on with it. Watch the interview. In the interview, once we start talking about entrepreneurial mindset, I do some classic NLP modeling stuff that I'm going to be actually releasing at a later date this week. So when I release that video, I'm going to describe why I asked the questions I asked, what answers I got, and what that tells me about the beliefs that were most enabling for her to do things like sell 103 homes in a year in her 3rd year in real estate. What belief supports her and being as successful as she is, being this powerhouse of an entrepreneur. So stay tuned for that. That one's coming. For those of you who really like learning from people who are more successful, which I love personally, then enjoy the interview. I think you're really going to enjoy her. She's fantastic and just really kind of authentic, which is really, really cool to see. And keep your eyes tuned for the video on the modeling piece that I did, as that's coming this week. And you're up there with Rihanna and Tony Robbins and Grant Cardone and all that.
Pretty exciting.
Amazing. So how does a teacher, how do you go from being a teacher to being in Forbes magazine and owning 4 different brokerages? How does that happen?
You want to know the real story? This is probably going to sound kind of funny, but I got to tell the truth because I'm just that type of person. I'm just straightforward. I shoot straight from the hip and I just tell the truth. So my oldest brother, he went to prison and he told me to get into real estate. And even though he told me, he didn't really give me a vehicle or tell me what to do, but that's what he said to me. And so as I was teaching and I was in school, I was an elementary school teacher, and my son at the time started misbehaving in school. And I had my kids under control in my classroom. Unfortunately, I kept getting phone calls from my son's school. And I said, I need to see what's going on with my own kid. I can't teach all these other kids if I don't have mine in order. So I need to find out what's going on. But of course, there was a conflict. And that conflict was my job, which my son is in school and I'm teaching during those same hours. There was no way I could find out really what was going on. That would mean that I would keep having to miss work every time my son was misbehaving. And so I said, I started feeling stuck. And I said, well, I'm starting to think this is really not for me anyway. I'm doing way too much work. I go home. I don't know an adult my age at 20 something years old, 28 years old teaching, and I got to go come home and take a nap. So I'm like, and I'm bringing all this work home with me. It's got to be a better way. So I kept hearing on the radio about something called a refinance. At the time, I knew nothing about a refinance. I knew nothing about what that meant, but I kept listening, and they were saying you can pull cash out of your property. So I bought my first house in 1999, and I kept it for many years. And during, I want to say 2003, maybe, between 2001, 2003, we had a really good real estate market. Not like it is now, because it's so good now that it's bad. But anyway, I was able to do two refinances during
Yeah.
that time period, maybe 6 months from in each other. And that's the money that I got started in. And I actually became a landlord and real estate investor. So the money that I got out of my primary residence, I did 2 cash out refinances. I believe I pulled to the tune of maybe about 60 something thousand total, 28 one time and 32 another time.
Mhm.
And that was the money that I started using for down payments for my properties. And I just took off. So
Wow.
after I took off from doing that, I ended up making sure that the income that I was producing was going to exceed the income from my job.
Right.
So once I did that and I saw that the income was exceeding my job, by that time I was close to or up to about 50 doors at that time.
That
So
you owned 50 doors.
yes. So
Wow.
I ended up purchasing in excess of about 50 something doors.
Okay.
I left my job, and during the summertime, when teachers have that break, I got into the lending arena, and I became a loan officer. And shortly after that, I became a real estate, a mortgage broker.
Mm-hmm.
And then the inevitable happened. The market crashed. I had
This
just
is
got
2009 when.
Yeah. Yes. So that's when the market crashed, and I had all of these doors, had the mortgage company going. I was doing really, really well. I mean, I want to say probably at least 50,000 a month between both of those.
What?
Yeah. So
Yes.
I have always seen a lot of money from, the things that I do and from what I've been doing. So that was huge for me, especially when my income was only 40,000 a year.
No kidding, right? So you go from teaching and then you get home and then all of a sudden you're doing $40,000 a month from your investment properties.
Right. And the mortgage company. So
Mortgage,
those
yep.
together, combined, those two streams, I was bringing in that much. So once the market crashed, of course, I wasn't a fool. Okay. And it's like Kenny, you got to know when to hold them and you got to know when to fold them. So I had to liquidate. Okay. But I took advantage of the market.
Yes.
I had a lot of money saved. So I started buying properties free and clear, selling them, still working in the market some, until I finally got burned out. So after that, I said, well, I had just maybe a few properties left. And I said, well, what am I going to do with myself now? So I just kept being a landlord for a little while longer. After that, I said, well, what the hell? I said, I might as well become a realtor. I said, because as a loan originator and mortgage broker, I have a whole bunch of connections with a bunch of investors. They had me writing up for sale by owner contracts for them so that they wouldn't have to pay a realtor. But of course, I had the relationship going with all these people, and they didn't care after that because I worked so well with them. They didn't care when I became a realtor because they ended up handing me all these deals. Wow. And they said, well, because it's you, I don't mind paying you now because you've been so good to me and you've done such a good job. I always had buyers. The investors came straight to me as a loan originator or a mortgage broker. They came directly to me for their clients.
Right.
I said, oh, this couldn't be too hard. So then that's when I got the realtor license.
It couldn't be too hard, huh?
Right. So here I am, this brand new realtor.
And when is this? You're a brand new realtor, and what year was this?
2009.
2009. Oh, so all of this was in 2009. So this period that you said you got burnt out, you were burnt out for what, a day? And then
right.
Okay.
Really, I was kind of scratching my head like this, like, okay, so what am I going to do? Just be a landlord since I had to shut down my mortgage company? I couldn't do, because I was doing a bunch of subprime loans and they washed all that out. And so, 2009 is when I said, well, this is what I'm going to do. So yeah, you're right. It wasn't that long that I got burnt out.
So in the other interview, one of the things that you said that, and I can't remember the language exactly, but there was something about a setback being a fuel for your comeback, right? Something along those lines. And so I'm just curious, when, 2009 happens and you have to kind of take a step back and zoom out on what you're doing. What was the, how did you handle what for other people might have sent them back to teaching, or have them say, maybe this entrepreneurship thing isn't for me? What was it about you? Talk me through that process of, okay, this and this is not working. How did you get from this is not working? Did you do the whole panic thing? Did you run around the house? What was it like for you?
Well, here's the thing. When you come from making $40,000 a year, it really didn't hurt that bad, because I had a fat ass bank account. Okay. I did well with my money and I saved it, so it didn't hurt me as bad. Yep. So it wasn't a situation where I was running around like, oh my God, woe is me, the sky is falling. No, that wasn't it. It was just, what's my next move? And I better make my next move my best move. And so what that was for me, the fuel that it gave me was, and I'm glad you asked that question, because what it was for me is that, wait a minute, I'm really enjoying this entrepreneurship. This is really, I'm not going back to work for anybody. So that was my fuel that said, I got to make a major comeback here. It was a minor setback for a major comeback.
Minor setback, major comeback.
Yep.
Totally. Okay. Got it. So then you get your real estate license and you have all these buyers coming to you. And so, so this was in Florida or
Wisconsin.
So you're in Wisconsin. Okay. And so help me understand your journey with your first real estate brokerage. You have all these buyers coming to you, and then what happens?
So actually it was the investors coming to me.
The investors.
Because here I am, I'm a brand new realtor, and don't get me wrong, I had both, but I mainly had the investors because they were the ones that were coming to me to look for the buyer. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. But I'm walking into this real estate brokerage as a new realtor with 10 listings. So now I'm the talk of the office. They wonder, how in the hell does this lady walk in here? She's a brand new realtor and she has 10 listings. How does that happen? So instead of them talking to me, they're talking around the office, and I find out later on that I'm the talk of the office, and I didn't know what was going on. It was just people whispering behind my back. They're looking at me funny and crazy, and I'm wondering what's going on, but I didn't pay it any attention because I was too busy working. But that came from the relationship. We are in the relationship building business, and when you can keep good relationships with people, that goes a very long way. Because remember, they never wanted to pay a realtor. But when I became one, this is a message. When I became one, they still wanted to work with me because they knew I took good care of them.
Okay. Got it. So when you think about building relationships, what do you think it is that you were doing that built those relationships in such a way where somebody who maybe even didn't want a realtor, they ended up saying, you know what? I like her. I trust her. Was that your integrity? Was that your work ethic, the way you showed up for them when you were writing their deals? What do you think it is that built the relationship?
Everything you just said, and the ability to be able to make things happen as it related to getting people pre-approved and getting their property sold. Having buyers lined up, getting the deals to the closing table. That's what they really appreciated about me. These were investors that were buying, fixing up properties, and they needed to sell them. So here I am, moved over to this other side, and I actually thought that I was going to lose business, but it actually went in the other direction because, I said, well, they never wanted to pay a realtor, so I'm going to chop liver now because I'm a realtor now. But it did not happen for me like that, and I'm very grateful for that.
Well, now, did you approach these people? Because a lot of times, I've worked with agents who are hesitant to work with for sale by owners because the owner decided that they were going to list the house by themselves. And so the presupposition is I don't want to work with an agent. And to me, I see that and I go, they're selling their home. That's what I see. And that means this is an opportunity. Did you have a different mindset with the investors going into it, even though you knew that they probably at the outset weren't looking for an agent?
Remember, the whole idea about this is that they know that I had buyers lined up to get their loan. So their motivation for continuously coming back to me was that I'm the loan officer getting people pre-approved. So they figured, why would I go to a realtor when here's Tamairo right here that has all these buyers lined up that has them pre-approved already. And here they are, Tamairo, I got this property. I just finished putting it together. Got it. How many buyers do you have? Do you have any buyers for my property?
Gotcha.
And of course I did. So
amazing. So your first real estate brokerage, how do you go from having 1 to 4?
Okay, so I went to that first real estate brokerage that I was telling you about when I went to the 10 listings, and I left there after a couple of years, and I went to an REO brokerage. And after that, I was the one that I was actually the first agent over there at that shop. And maybe a year or so after that, a couple of years after that, I ended up opening my own. And, that's where I really ended up hitting it big over at that REO brokerage. During that time was the time when the market crashed. It was a ton of properties out there. And I know that one year, I'll say in 2012, because remember I said I stayed over there a few years. So my third year on 2012, I sold over 103 properties that year myself.
What? Wait a minute. In 1 year, you sold 103 properties yourself.
I outsold my whole company. I actually built the whole company as far as the agents that I brought in. I recruited 20 agents to their firm. Yeah. And I outsold RE/MAX that year, just me by myself.
So help me with the math on this. You're doing over 100 properties. You're doing more than 10 a month, or about 10 a month. So what is that? 2 to 3 transactions a week?
Yeah.
What was your schedule like? Do you have an assistant at this point? I mean,
I did, but I didn't, because I tried it a couple of times and it didn't work out. And I actually had my son for a little bit, and then I had one other person that helped me out a little bit. And again, that didn't work out too well either. I went from person to person, but it wasn't really getting done the way that I wanted it to get done. So the majority of the time, it actually was just me. And it was actually just me as a mortgage broker too. I look at the way they do the mortgage business now, and there's a whole team of people that help people get files done. And it was just me processing my own files and everything. And I look at these teams now, and some of them still don't have it together. And I had it together with just being me. So I'm
so clearly you're doing something different, right? Like you're doing something different. What would you say if you had a superpower, if you had an ability? What do you think has been your biggest asset that could allow somebody just to do that many transactions in a year?
Work with real estate investors.
Work with them.
Work with real estate investors. Here's my rationale and my thinking. Network with as many real estate investors as you can, only because those are repeat buyers. You got a first timer or a move up buyer or someone who's relocating. Hey, you may not hear from these people for another 5 to 7 years. But in my mind and in my thinking, I'm saying, hey, if I do this with these investors, they're not going to buy one property with me. They're going to keep coming back. And that's been my strategy. That's my main niche. I'll work with everyone, but my main niche is working with real estate investors, as many as I can.
I love it. And so that's brought you to the point of having 4 different brokerages in 4 different states.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So how on earth does that happen?
Right. So I don't know. I got a little bit bored with Wisconsin.
No, okay, you're only doing 100 transactions,
Well, I'm always one of those people that loves a challenge. And I kind of, yeah, I kind of wanted to get out of Milwaukee. Milwaukee is where I was born and raised. Okay. So I wanted to kind of get out of Milwaukee, and I am a traveler. So I thought it worked good. And I started researching the areas where I thought it would be easy for me to branch off into.
Okay.
And Georgia was the easiest one. And you might be asking why.
If you see me typing, it's because I'm taking notes for stuff I want to bring up later. So,
okay. So with Georgia, it was one of the easiest places to get if you want to say be multi-licensed. It was one of the easiest places to go because they have reciprocity with every state. So of course, what that means is if you're licensed one place, whether you're a salesperson or you are a broker, you're able to just fill out paperwork, pay the fee, do the background checks, get your fingerprints done, and now you're able to be licensed. And most states are not that way. I mean, some states have reciprocity with only maybe a few, and some of them have none. Gotcha. And so I kept hearing everybody talking about Georgia. And the other thing is I started watching the trends, and I saw a lot of Wisconsinites having a lot of ties to Georgia. And I didn't quite know why, but I said, well, why the hell not? Why don't I follow the trend? So when I saw a lot of Wisconsinites going to Georgia, I figured I would be the Milwaukee to Atlanta connection. So that's why I ended up doing that. And it's been very, very resourceful for me to do so. And I started putting things together. I can go ahead and tell you why I branched out to Florida and why I branched out to Illinois. And people don't understand the connection between all four states, but here's the connection. Wisconsinites, they love Georgia and they love Florida. The Wisconsinites, those people, a lot of them have second homes. That's the Wisconsin and the Florida connection. A lot of them are snowbirds. Illinois, same thing. A lot of Illinois people are down in Georgia. A lot of Illinois people are also in Florida, snowbirds from there. So I've been frequenting the area of Florida since 2008. And the other thing that probably will set me apart from other people is that I'm a spontaneous gal. Okay. I mean, I think you probably can already pick that up.
Yeah.
So when I was doing really well back in the day, then had these companies, had all this money in the bank and everything. And I said, well, I want a vacation home. I'm just gonna buy something in Florida. Never heard of the place. Just got on some foreclosure website, clicked the button, and just bought this place, this condo in Florida. Wow. Never had been there a day in my life. Never had any family there. Never heard of the place called Fort Myers. That was back in 2008. Just clicked the button and then, I wired the money and flew down there and closed on the property. Nice. And so by 2012, I had some issues go on with that property. And I ended up suing the owner up above and the condo association, and that dragged on for a couple of years. And I ended up selling that and settling and getting the money, and then I bought a home in Georgia. Okay. So after that, I hadn't had the Florida license then, but I said it's time to make that move, and I went ahead and got the license in Florida. Illinois was the last one. I fly into Illinois a lot. It's right next to Wisconsin. I said it only made sense for me to get the Illinois license as well. And I do have family over in Illinois, which, by the way, has changed their mind and said they're going to buy in Milwaukee instead of in Illinois. In Wisconsin. Yeah, she changed her mind and got a higher pre-approval amount.
Interesting.
So, yeah.
So now, how often are you on an airplane? Are you spending like a week in Florida, a week in Illinois?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Interesting. Okay, cool. So the frequent flyer Myers must be stacking too.
Yeah, well, I'm going to be honest with you. Even though I would stay economical, and you wouldn't believe this, you probably wouldn't believe this, but a lot of my flights are between $25 and $49 each way.
Yeah. Well, one of the things that you said is that you had saved a lot of money. You were smart with your money. And one of the things that I've noticed about really successful business owners is that they're frugal and not cheap. I think there's a big difference between those two things. There's a difference between cheap and frugal. And, I worked with an entrepreneur who'd done really well in internet marketing. And I asked him, what's the most important quality for a business owner to have? And he said, frugal. You got to be smart with your money. And, it's the opposite of the image, that you see on Instagram. You follow like hashtag entrepreneur this, hashtag boss this, right? And it's the cash expenditure. And interesting, the people that I've met who actually stack cash in real life, they're actually they're stacking the cash. They're making smart decisions with their money. So it's interesting to see that you were also very smart with the money coming in. Was that always the case when you were a teacher as well? Were you also frugal then and that carried over? Or did you?
I was also frugal then too, but I just never really liked the pay. So I always kept a little part-time job on the side.
Gotcha.
Maybe did some tutoring after work whenever I wasn't going home taking a nap. So I had a second job, or I had some kind of side hustle going on, selling stuff on eBay, or going to a 7 Mile fair and having a booth there and making T-shirts and selling shoes. I would do that sometimes during the summer breaks when I was a teacher. So I always kept extra money. I've always been a serial entrepreneur, by the way, in addition to being a teacher.
Well, and that's one of the things that you said is the entrepreneurial mindset is so important for agents. And so I would love to get your definition of what is the entrepreneurial mindset.
The entrepreneurial mindset is understanding and knowing that this is your business. And I think that as agents, they seem to not understand that. And that's why a lot of agents do fail. It's one of the number one reasons they fail, because they don't have the entrepreneurial mindset to understand that they are actually running a business, and they need to understand that there's a lot that goes into becoming an entrepreneur, and you cannot have the employee mindset. They don't understand that there's a bunch of marketing and branding that goes along with being an agent and getting yourself out there to get people to know who you are. And that's a really big problem amongst agents. They just see other agents having a good time, making a bunch of money, but there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears that goes into it. They might be watching somebody else and they may make it look easy, but this is 18 years in the game for me. And I have actually, I've made just a whole mogul of this situation because of me not wanting to go back to a 9-to-5. When you don't want to go back to a 9-to-5, you will do what you need to do to make.
But you're so far beyond that, right? You're so far beyond needing to go back to a 9-to-5. And so there's so many questions, but one of them to me is, what keeps you juiced today? What is it? Because there's no way you're going back to a 9-to-5, right?
Right.
Like there's no way I could force you into it, right?
Right.
So what's the motivation today? Is the drive still as strong for you today? Are you still looking for, do you still love a challenge, that type of thing that you had back then?
I still do love a challenge. And the other thing that I want to tell you is that I'm always doing something new. I'm an eclectic person. And it's like, again, I come up with another idea. Now I come up with another idea. And it just goes on, which brings me to my 20 streams in real estate that I do. I see that question a lot of times on in a lot of the Facebook groups. And they ask, well, what do some of you realtors do for your side hustles? What do you do on the side? Or what were you doing before you became a realtor? And, what things do you do? And of course, some people have said, Grubhub, Uber, and things like that. But I've decided to keep all of my income streams real estate related. Mm-hmm. So even if I were to, let's just say tomorrow, something happened, they said, well, Tamairo, you can't have your brokerages anymore. I have so many other streams beyond having those real estate brokerages that I would still be okay, because I have so many other things that I do within that realm.
Gotcha. Okay. Well, let me take you back to the entrepreneurial mindset for a second. Give me 3 examples of times when you've demonstrated the entrepreneurial mindset that maybe you wish some of your agents could adopt. or the entrepreneurial mindset that, you know, it helped you do this in your marketing or this in your relationship building? Or I noticed one of the things that you do is you said you generate your business on Facebook chat, and I'm the same way. And for a lot of people, this is bananas to them. They've never heard of, you know, generating leads this way and connecting with people on Facebook. So I'm just, what is, to you, what are some examples of having the entrepreneurial mindset? If I had to install it, right? If this were the Matrix and we're going to download, you know, the program Entrepreneurial Mindset, what are some examples of where that shows up?
Well, one of the main things, and I think this is number one on the list, and it might not be number one for anybody else, but I'm saying consistency.
Consistency.
Yeah. And here's why I say consistency, because this is so important for anybody that might be listening. Consistency means you don't go and put a Facebook post up and talk about something real estate related and then don't post again for a whole nother week or week and a half. People aren't going to remember that. They're not going to remember you from you not staying consistent. That's what has kept me in the face of everybody. It's why I have so many followers. It's why people reach out to me. When you are in a situation where you don't have to actually market, you have really mastered that part of being an entrepreneur when people start reaching out to you. If you're not consistent with the business, that is going to be a major downfall for anyone. And the second thing I'm saying that will be extremely important is making sure that you're on social media. Why?
Yep.
Well, COVID-19 happened. And while a lot of real estate professionals may have struggled during that time,
yep,
I can say the opposite for me. I quadrupled my business during COVID.
Wow.
And you might ask, how in the hell do you quadruple your business in the middle of a freaking pandemic when everybody is scared and afraid to go outside? How in the world did you build
did you? How in the hell did you do that?
Well, it goes back to the consistency. I said, you know, why do I need to shut myself down and be afraid? My idea was to educate the masses. So what did I do? I created a real estate Facebook group. And not only did I create that real estate Facebook group, I started educating the masses on my personal page. I started talking about real estate, talking about how to get ready. Every week, I had a topic to discuss real estate. Sometimes in a single night, I would have close to 1,000 views from people watching me talk about fixing credit, what they should do, where they are. And again, back to that consistency, you making sure that you're reaching people. You're telling people ahead of time what you're going to talk about. Every week I had a new topic to talk about, whether it was talking about buyer etiquette, talking about how to get your credit fixed, how to repair your credit on your own. I've got thousands of views on some of my videos in my Facebook group. By the way, it's called Top Women in Real Estate. I've got over 12,000 members in that group. And as for that challenge part, yes, the eclectic part, yes, I have started a apparel store and items that you can buy with that logo and name, Top Women in Real Estate. It's a lady holding a trophy with a house around it. So now I'll be selling my products, my bags, my flashlights, my masks. What I'm telling you is it's a whole brand, and branding yourself is perfect. And this is the way that people follow you, is by making sure that you brand yourself. If you're not branding yourself and you're not putting yourself out in front of people, now how are they going to know who you are?
Amazing.
And again, in this group, I'm also educating the ladies in the group.
Right.
I got ladies from all over the place wanting information on how to buy investment properties. I'm teaching investing. People come to the group. How do I do this? How do I do that? We all support each other. Yep. And again, going from the consistency to the marketing and branding, and then again, back to the consistency again. And then the last thing is that follow-up. If you're not
Follow-up.
following, that follow-up is very important, because if you don't follow up when you should, you may lose that person. There's a whole bunch of other realtors out there. Why should they choose you?
Right.
Who are you? Why should I choose you? And you won't even follow back up with me. I talked to you a week ago and I never reached back out. Well, they may feel unimportant at that point in time.
Gotcha.
So consistency, marketing and branding, and follow up.
So what is it that enables you to be so consistent?
Oh boy. When you love what you do, you'll never work a day in your life.
Yeah.
That's it. I'm sorry. I can't think of anything else to say except I love me some real estate. Real estate is my jam. I love it.
And so what does it do for you? What is it that real estate does for you that gives you that love for real estate?
Well, first of all, what it means to me is that I'm helping people. I'm talking about people who never thought that they could purchase a home. There's people who have been told no, but someone has referred them to me and said, if nobody can do it, she can. And now there's a ton of referrals coming to me from nowhere, because people who have the worst credit, I'm able to help. I don't always charge people. I think what has happened for me is me helping so many people for free that more paid business comes my way. People are so big with charging people all the time, when what has happened to me is the total opposite. As I help people for free, more of those people send me more paid business than I can ever imagine. And I'll tell you where that stemmed from. That stemmed from an article that I saw, and I can't find it. But it was an article in Milwaukee that said that Milwaukee was doing everything wrong. And I read the article, and you know what it said? It said 130,000 more people in Milwaukee, Wisconsin would be homeowners if they gave people free credit repair.
130,000.
Yes.
Wow.
So I got that mindset. I said, hey, this stuff is simple for me. I don't even need to look at a person's credit report to tell them what to do to fix it. And I want them to be empowered so that they can fix their own credit, so that they don't have to go to anybody else to pay to get it done.
Wow.
So of course, that's how I started with all this following, and people kept on waiting for me to post. Everybody was at home. I had a large ass audience. Everybody is just waiting for me to, what I'm going to say next. Now I can put one post up. I could put one informational post up, and within the next 30 minutes, my inbox would be full of inquiries.
Wow. That's incredible. It's incredible. All from giving value, which I think is beautiful.
That's the smoking gun, giving value to your audience.
Yes. Amazing.
Thanks.
So when you talk about branding yourself, and you also mentioned legacy. So how do you think about branding yourself?
Branding myself as someone who people can look up to say, look at everything that she's done, and also trying to follow in my footsteps to let them understand and know what they should be doing for the generations to come. A lot of people are quick to try to make the money, but you know what? I'll be totally honest with you. I could jump off into the luxury market anytime I got ready, but you know what? And a radio, no, not a radio show, a TV show reached out to me, asking me to come on some kind of show for me to uplift celebrities and people who were, if you are working with a celebrity to buy a home, I emailed them back and I said, hey, I'd love to be on your show, but I would much rather have more value if I could actually show how I improved a normal person in a regular person's life than a celebrity.
Gotcha. So this is very much about giving back in a way. And you're talking about allowing people to look up and know what moves to make. What does that do for you, knowing that you've made that type of contribution? What do you get to feel when you know you've made that type of difference in somebody's life?
It's very rewarding. And again, that's the other smoking gun. When you can hear people talk about you and send you business and say, hey, she's the best. Listen, those names of my real estate companies, they have the word best in them. I have to live up to that name. I can't be walking around here, Milwaukee's best, and people saying, no, it's the Milwaukee's worst. I gotta make sure that people understand why I call myself the best. I want to get there. And guess what? I'm not going to please everybody.
Right.
The thing I do know is that I know my stuff. And one thing's for sure, I'm able to help agents scale. I'm able to help my buyers scale. Anyone who's a real estate investor who wants to move up, because a lot of our people, they don't understand and know how to scale and buy multiple properties. They've never been taught, or they've been told no by a lot of loan officers, when really it's some tweaking that's needed. Or there is a different kind of program at a different lender. Not all lenders go down to a 580 credit score. They've been told no, because their minimum credit score is 620. I went on this credit website, and I'm kind of nosy sometimes. I go to these groups, and the group people were talking about credit and which lender takes what score, and a lot of the people were very off. Knowledge is power. And a lot of them were saying, oh, what's the best credit score to have to go get a mortgage loan? And it was a bunch of people saying 720. And that's not true. It's not true. The same person who can get a 580 inside of a Chapter 13 bankruptcy was getting a 2.75 rate last year.
Get out of here. Really?
Inside of a bankruptcy.
Wow.
Chapter 13.
That's incredible.
So here I am, armed. I'm armed with this knowledge.
Yes.
The other part of this is knowledge. And this is what I was going to talk about tonight in my group, about being an expert agent. They don't know how to. A lot of people don't know how to, because a really good realtor is not going to just take their client and send them to a lender. You don't do that. You need to do the homework on these people first. Why waste time on your client getting a hard pull on their credit when all you have to do is put yourself a checklist together and ask the appropriate questions of them up front, in case they have some issues that they need to work on before you send them. You pre-approve before they get pre-approved. Right. And the mortgage business has definitely equipped me in my real estate business to be able to get these people to the next level, which is an extra added layer of education that most realtors don't have. So that's what I was going to talk to them in my group about. For you to be able to do that and size a person up, talk to them about what they need to do to qualify before they even get there. That's a huge step in the right direction. And if you don't have that, you're going to be the difference between a failure and being the best.
Got it. I love it. So one of the things that I noticed that you touched on briefly, and I might be mind reading here, but I get the sense that faith plays a little bit of a role in this as well. And I'm not sure if that's true, if I'm projecting. And I'm just curious, is faith a big role for you? Do you believe it plays a role in your business? And if so, what is that like for you?
Faith in knowing that I can and I will. I mean, I think it's more, if I want to couple that with confidence, my level of confidence has always been through the roof. I mean, I've never really been a person who ever thought that I couldn't. And that is another huge attribute that most people should have, is never giving up. Guess what? The only failure is the person who doesn't try. You got to keep the faith. Listen, stuff still happens to me. I'm not perfect. Okay. Yeah, I might call myself Milwaukee's best, but I lose clients too. I just lost a client. How did I feel? At the moment, I was ticked. But I hurry up and shake that behavior off. And I think to myself, look how many clients that I do have. And I need to really focus my attention and my energy on helping them, and don't worry about who left you. And why would they leave me? Well, because somebody else gets in their ear and says, oh, well, my cousin's an agent in Georgia, even help them fix their credit, bring them right along, and now they're pre-approved for $225,000, and they decide to work with someone else after you coach.
I'd be a little miffed. Understand?
And I was ticked, but then I took a piece of paper and I wrote down the other 10 or 15 clients that I had, which didn't include all of the real estate investors that I'm working with. And I said, hey, let me just be happy with what I have, because I'm constantly being inboxed every day for something. Right. I can barely keep up with all of the business. And it's been like this since the pandemic started. I want to hop back there because I got to tell you about that.
Please.
How I made it. And I'm coming out with some books and some courses for real estate investors, but I'm going to let people know how I made it through this pandemic. Because everything was done virtual. I've done more sight unseen deals, more virtual deals with my investors, with people who are relocating, who maybe have looked at a video or just said, hey, I saw the pictures, I like it, and we send an inspector out. I never met the client. Right. I never went inside the house. I didn't meet the inspector. I didn't meet the owner. We did the paperwork. Signatures went back and forth. And boom, now we're at the closing table. I never did that. And all over these different states that I'm licensed in, my checks get overnighted to me.
And was that regular for you before the pandemic?
Actually, yes, but it became more. See, listen, I've had people make fun of me now. Like I said, I could be called Milwaukee's best and somebody might call me Milwaukee's worst, because I got picked at in the past for having virtual brokerages. Sometimes people pick at you for not having an office, but they don't understand that this is the way the world is changing to virtual. Yeah. And why should I, again, let's get back to the frugal. No, I'm not going to have 4 brick and mortar buildings, because just because you have a building does not mean that you are building.
Exactly. So this is so huge, because you seem to either get ahead of the virtual trend. And a lot of the agents that I know, when I ask them, what's your biggest challenge? This one comes up all the time. They say, I should be doing video. I should be on social media. I should be posting. And I can't tell you how many agents, I'm in Los Angeles. So there's opportunity for some agents to rest on their laurels, to put it nicely, right? If you sell a home or you sell a couple of homes, you're going to have a 6-figure income. And so what you see sometimes, a lot of agents who are kind of just letting it drip, where, they could be doing $500,000 a year as opposed to 100,000, but they're not getting clear about what a social media marketing plan looks like. And I think maybe there's so much confusion about, social media marketing funnels, all that type of stuff. But, a Google search can give you enough information to start putting yourself out there. And so I don't know, what do you think, the average agent, what would be the thing they should start doing today with their social media that could help them stand out and, develop a little bit of a brand that is unique and authentic to them? So they're not putting on one of those personas, per se, but they're being themselves online and still getting themselves out there. What do you think an agent who's avoiding it, what could bridge that gap for them so they actually start to take advantage of this incredible free marketing? I mean, it's so insane that you have this much opportunity.
And that's funny that you say that, because the way you think is the way I think. Because automatically, when all this crap went crazy with this COVID, I said, well, wait a minute. I got to take advantage of this. Everybody is at home. I said, boom, I'm getting ready to start doing videos every week. Every week they were ready. And if something happened and I wasn't able to do something, people were upset. Hey, I thought you said you were talking about this today. Where are you? What happened? You should have seen when I was having technical difficulties one time for one of my videos. And when I came back, everybody was still there waiting on me to come back to give them more information. Nobody had gone anywhere.
Wow. That's amazing.
they need to get online and stay on there and find their niche online. If they are afraid of getting in front of the videos, then perhaps they need to get in front of a mirror and start talking and familiarize themselves and get comfortable with looking at themselves in the mirror so that they can be okay with talking to people.
What I did is, because I had hired a coach, this is years ago, and she said, what do you need to be doing? And I said, well, I need to be on Facebook Live. I need to be doing video. And she's like, all right, next week, you have to have made a video. All week. And I put this off all week. I took my phone out and I just talked into the phone all week. And I said, okay, I'm going to go live today. I'm going to go live today. I never went live until an hour before our call, you know, but I know, but I had spent the whole week talking into a camera and looking at myself as I was doing it. So it suddenly actually felt very familiar. And so when I went live, I ended up signing a client. I had a client reach out to me based on my first Facebook Live. And so I don't know if that's Providence or if that's, I had rehearsed it 1,000 times because I was so nervous about it, you know, but I love that. So rehearse. And if you rehearse, you're going to feel a lot better about it. I think that's awesome.
That's correct. And to me, that repetition gave you the confidence that you needed. So when you went live, it stuck. And see, people don't seem to understand how important it is to go live. But the other big thing that we didn't touch on quite yet is how to mix everything in. The other thing is, I do have to be honest with you and tell you that I'm a person that dances to the beat of their own drum. I'm also the person that doesn't join in with crowds. It can be 2,000 people saying yes, and I'm all the way over here by myself saying nope.
Yeah, I'm the same.
And so
I get suspicious. If everybody's doing it, I don't like it.
Right. So when it's all said and done, you know, I'll never forget what happened to me on Facebook when that pandemic stuff was going on, and somebody got under one of my posts because I put a post up about home buying. And you know, you get people that still come out of the woodwork and be nasty and rude or whatever. Somebody gets on there and says, "Child, why you trying to ask people to buy a house at a time like this? Girl, you crazy." And I was about to respond back, but something said, "Don't." All of my supporters jumped on that lady. Do you hear me? They tore her apart. Like, hey, that's a good deal. And you still need a place to live. And everybody they kind of attacked her with nothing but the truth, which let me know that people are actually listening to me. When you build up a plethora of people and a following that follows you, anybody can say whatever they want. When you have all these followers, they're following you. And in order for you to be able to do this, again, it all goes back to that consistency.
Yeah, totally. 100%.
You cannot do it one day and think that everything's going to be everything. And you should have more than just one way to do this. You can have a YouTube channel. I noticed someone booked me for a 9 at 9 is what they call it on Instagram. He had a little 9 at 9. So he had 9 minutes to talk to somebody about a subject, and it's at 9 o'clock in the morning. So, so you need to be one to come up with different ways and different strategies to reach out to people. In my Facebook group, I have something going on every day of the week when I can get to it.
It's a fantastic group, by the way. I am in the group. I'm not a woman and I'm not a real estate agent, but I am in the group. But it's a fantastic group. There's a ton of engagement and there's a ton of value being given. It's really awesome.
Thank you. So it's Money Making Monday. It's Trivia Tuesday. It's Webinar Wednesday. Thought Provoking Thursday.
Nice.
Freestyle Friday, Small Business Sunday, and Small Business Saturday, and Speaker Sunday.
Speaker Sunday. Got you. Very cool.
So
you have your own broadcast channel, basically. It's awesome.
Pretty much. So that's how I'm reaching out to people, and there's people that want to learn about, certain things that they're trying to do. So I try to pick a day and time that I can come in the group. Lately, I gotta be lying. I can't lie. I have not been consistent. I've had a lot of stuff going on. You know, I've had some, deaths in the family, and a friend just passed actually this morning.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah, I wasn't prepared for it, but when I continue to work, it keeps me going. I gotta bury my mother-in-law on Sunday, but this working and me engaging with people and continuing to move forward, like I know both of them will want me to do, that's what keeps me grounded and keeps me ahead.
Keeps you grounded and keeps you ahead. So this is the question that comes to mind for me, because I have my own business. I have one business, right? And managing the complexity of my marketing, my enrollment, making sure my clients are well taken care of, planning for the business that I want to be in the future. And there's so many things to manage. I'm curious, how do you, because it seems like you get ideas, and then one of the beautiful things about you is that you just get the idea and then you implement it. A lot of people have ideas, but you get an idea and you're like, you know what, we're going to sell apparel. Yep, we're going to sell apparel, and then it's like that. So with all of these different irons in the fire, how do you coordinate and manage all of this?
I just do it. Ain't nothing to it but to do it. I just do it and I get it done. I'm sorry. You want to know the truth? That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
Fair enough.
I just,
do you have systems? I mean, what is there anything like, do you time block,
Listen to me.
Yeah.
When I tell you that I fly by the seat of my pants, that's it. I'm being real with you.
Well, let me get a pair of those pants then, because there's something about those. It seems like your pants have a plan. All right.
They do. It's like, I think when I get my mind set to something that I want to do and I feel like it's a good idea, I just make it take off. I'm waiting.
That's what you said earlier. You said that the reason my investors trusted me is because I make things happen.
And that's the big deal right there. Anyone can try to do what they want to do, but they can't be so quick to give up on it. If it's something that you really want in life, and this doesn't have anything to do with real estate. This is anything in life that you might want.
Yeah.
And you know how bad you really want it, you just can't give up. That's the best advice that I can give anyone jumping into the field, trying to get a business started. It doesn't have to be real estate. It can be whatever you want to do in life. It's just to never give up. So many people are so close to their goal, and then they let something knock them back. I tell everybody, your dream might be delayed, but it's not denied.
Yeah, totally. So let me play the flip side of the coin. And so I would never invite somebody to give up on their dream. If it's your dream and you love it and it's your passion, you always forever you do it. With so many ideas that you implement, do you ever say, you know what, I think this one, I'm going to let this one go? How do you know if there's something that's not working and it's time to kind of pull the plug on it?
I love that you asked that question, and you're asking some good questions, by the way.
Thank you.
I'll give you a really good example. Mm-hmm. I started becoming frustrated with my preferred lenders that I'm dealing with to send my clients to get pre-approved and to do the loan. So with me having a mortgage background and having a mortgage brokerage in the past, I decided to embark up on that profession again. And I started working on the process.
Yeah.
And I started working on the process, and I started going through the motions, and things were not working out. And you might say, hey, well, what wasn't working out about it? Everything seemed forced. I was having a really hard time getting my mortgage broker bond. I was having a really hard time reaching people to get things done due to COVID. I know that every time I tried to get something done in relation to that, it kept bouncing back. And frankly, I'm going to be totally honest with you. I didn't know how the hell I was going to start that company back up with all of the other crap I have going on. With all of these other income streams and me being all over the place, how in the hell was I going to open this company anyway? So I had to bring myself back down to earth. And I said, you know what? My husband did explain that to me, that, you know, if you're trying to force things, and I kept trying to force it, I had to sit back and say to myself, now is not the time. And remember, I said, dream might be delayed, but it's not denied. I can pick up on it another time.
I love it. That's awesome. And I'm glad you brought up your husband. I feel like you pulled it out of my head because one of the things that you mentioned is that you and your husband will work together oftentimes. And I've worked with exes in the past, and I have a good friend, and he, you know, his relationship did not go well, and the business that they were in, excuse me, that they were in together suffered as a result of it. So how is it that you and your husband work well together? Any secrets for the couples who are in business?
Well, for starters, we've been together 21 years this year.
Congratulations. That's awesome. Yeah.
So when I met him, he was 23 and I was 28.
Okay.
So it actually is easier for you to be with someone who likes doing what you do, and that is supportive of what you do. Maybe it might not be the same thing, but be supportive. I've often heard a lot of times that women, I've heard it from both sides, the women and the men. Some men are just not motivated to hop off into real estate. Some men don't like the fact that the wife is not at a 9-to-5 working when she should be, when she might be going on her 6th month of not getting a deal, you know, and the family starts picking at you saying, hey, when are you going to go get a real job? Because you haven't closed the sale yet. So those are the types of things that people run into, and it can be on either side that happens. I say that you have to understand each other. You have to believe in each other's dreams. You have to be as supportive as you can on both sides. Even if it's not something that I want to actually do, you know, I need to be supportive. Even if he says no, I got to understand that his answer is not going to always be yes to everything, and vice versa. So we just need to be supportive of one. That's really the main thing, is being supportive of your partner.
That's awesome. That's amazing. You touched on something about, you know, family obligations, right? And maybe it's not husband, maybe it's your mom and dad or your friends. And I know from my personal experience that there are a lot of things that I've had to say no to. And when I was first starting my business, actually, I have a buddy of mine, this guy, James, and James is not a coach, but he started his coaching business and grew his coaching business from 0 to $1 million in revenue in a year. Right. And so I'm like, James, I don't know what you're doing, but I'm coming to San Diego and I'm coming to that WeWork office that you work out of. I'm working with you and I'm going to see what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And it became evident right away that I disappeared for 2 hours for lunch one day. And I come back and here's James and he's pissed. It's not even his business. And he's pissed at me. Right. And he's like, where have you been? And I was like, I got lunch with your roommate, dude. And he's like, oh, you're currently running the business of your dreams? And I was like, no, I'm not running the business of my dreams. He's like, so you can afford to take a 2-hour lunch while you're building your business today? And I was like, no. Right. And I'm being scolded now. Right. And I'm sort of, yeah. And he's like, well, I bet, does this happen a lot to you? Do you let people infringe on your boundaries around time for building your business? And I had to stop and think about it. I was like, actually, yeah. If a friend calls me or somebody and then next thing you know, I'm out the door and I didn't put any time into the consistency of the right activities or whatever it was. And so since then, I've been a lot more committed. I say no to things, but I have noticed that relationships can suffer as a result of that. And I'm just curious, in your experience, number one, how do you navigate that balance of still having a balanced life and then running your business? And how do you set boundaries in a way where people understand?
I'm glad you brought that up, because I just had this same situation happen to me last night.
Yeah.
I am one of those people that, I got several telephones and several cell phones and phone numbers. And every time you look up, the phone's ringing. I'm getting an inbox on Facebook. And all that happened to me last night. Guess where I was? Out to dinner with my husband.
Mm-hmm.
And someone inboxed me on Facebook and asked me to call me. And I told them no, because I was in the car. I had just come from dinner and my husband had the music up.
We're going to enjoy this song, huh?
Absolutely, because I'm always in a situation and I have gotten so much better with it. I've been more conscious about it. I have a cutoff time. I do not take any more phone calls after 9 p.m. 9 p.m. is getting way too late.
Who's calling you after 9?
Listen to me. It happens. There have been times that I've been on the phone past midnight. And if it's an emergency or something's going on that I need to talk to them right then, and some people feel like the sky is falling on them, that they have to talk to me right then.
Yep.
I used to be that person, but we have to learn how to cut everything off and get people to understand that they're not the only client that you have, that you do still have a family that you have to attend to. Let them know that, if I have a light day, that my light day is Sunday. Well, not this past Sunday. I don't know what the hell happened, but they ran me in the ground. I had to get on Facebook and make a post and told them no more inquiries. I didn't know what happened that day, but it was worse than a Monday for me. Mondays are my worst days of the week, always. But this past Sunday, it was crazy. I didn't know where everybody had come from, but a bunch of calls came in, a bunch of inboxes, a bunch of everything. But what I have done is set boundaries and made myself know that after 9 p.m., that's it. Yeah. Even inboxes asking me to look up properties for them or keep working. And, even at 7 p.m. yesterday, I was headed to dinner. They wanted to know, could I do this and could I do that? Somebody else was like, oh, I need you to do this and do that. And I said, well, I'm out to dinner with my husband. I said, hey, I've been working since 7 a.m. this morning. I said, it's 7 p.m. where I'm at. I said, I'm headed to dinner. Yeah. So I'm getting better. Trust me, I'm getting better.
So it's not just me. It's not just
me. No, it's not. That balance, you have to put those the safeguards in place for yourself, because that is a good way to become overwhelmed and to become and to hurt people's feelings. And I think that setting those expectations up front, in front of people, if you don't do that, then you will allow people to call you after 9 o'clock. You will allow people to text you at 7. I got one client that's bad with that. She's been texting me at 7 o'clock in the morning. I said, I don't start moving around doing anything to 9 a.m. It's 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. If we can't get it done during that time, it goes over to the next day.
Yeah. Well, before I niched with business owners, I was taking any client, right? Mm-hmm. And I was working with a client who was trying to get better with women. And he's a very, very attractive guy, bodybuilder. So women find him attractive, but they walk all over him, right? And so he would call me. He would call me and text me at all hours of the day, screenshotting the text message that she sent him and saying, what should I say to this? And I was like, dude, this is not. And that was the big sign for me, and so him and I had a heart to heart. And then now I let people know up front that, hey, this is what I'm available for. And then if I want to go overboard, like I have a client that I'm working with now who, I'm really interested and curious about what he's doing. I'm going to end up researching it, but he's not going to know, he's not going to find out about that. You mentioned burnout. What is it that you do to fill your cup? And I know you love what you do. And at the same time, are there other things that you do to do the self-care, which is really popular nowadays? How do you take care of you?
Go to the beach.
Go to the beach. Yeah.
Go to the beach. Go jet skiing. Travel whenever I want. Remember, when you a boss, you can do that. You can actually cut things short and say, hey, I'm going on vacation. And The other thing you need to do is when that does happen is you need to make sure that you have safeguards in place to be able to either replace you. When for example, now I'm in Florida, I have a bunch of Wisconsin clients. I do have agents that work under all 4 of my firms. Well, not Illinois. Somebody just reached out about Illinois, and they are able to support me when I'm not in town if I need them for anything. Gotcha. So cool. You got to learn how to break away, and you got to learn how to go and do what you want to do, because then it starts to feel like that you were a slave to your business if you can't ever break off and go and do what you want to do. But since you are in charge and you are the boss, you need to make sure that you're taking time to do that. It's your fault, and it's shame on you if you don't take the time to do that, because you just gotta remember who's in charge.
I need to call myself into the office right now.
Right. So wait a minute. Why am I letting this person get to me like this? They know what I told them. They know that I said between 9 and 9. They know that I told them last week that I was going to be in Florida on the beach for a week. I mean, yes. My husband had a birthday trip for me that by the way, he actually orchestrated behind my back that I didn't know about. He tricked me and took me, this was back in April. He took me to Sanibel Beach, and I thought that I was going to have dinner. But it comes to find out he had booked us before 4 or 5 nights to stay there. And I don't know if you've ever, if you've been to Sanibel, but Sanibel is a really nice place.
I haven't been.
No. And it ain't cheap. It ain't cheap.
Yeah. Sanibel, where is that? Is that Florida, or where is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's in Florida. Sanibel Beach is in Florida. So it's the Marriott, and it's a beautiful property, and everything is there. Yeah. And so he, like I said, he tricked me. He orchestrated everything on down to my suitcase.
It's a good trick.
Yeah. My suitcase was still sitting in the room, and he actually had a different bag. When we got to the property for valet to park the car, he opened the trunk and had a bag in there that was actually his and not my suitcase. He had it all. I never even knew he was doing this. So it was a huge surprise.
Wow.
Yep.
That's awesome. And
of course, I didn't know about it, and it was a secret. So when people started calling me in between, I would just text them and say, "Hey, I'm on a birthday trip or whatever." I'm getting a whole lot better.
Okay. So 2 more questions, and if you have time for it.
Okay, sure.
If not, we'll set the safeguard here. We'll call it,
No, I'm good.
Okay. So difficult clients. Communicating expectations to clients who, right now is a seller's market, and they're going in and they're saying, well, let's make an offer underneath asking, right? And, you try to explain this to them and they're not hearing it. How do you deal with the toughies?
Fire them.
Fire them?
You want the truth, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Fire them.
Okay.
But there's a tactful way to do it, though.
Okay.
Any client that you come in contact with, it's your job as the professional to give them the expectations up front, and for you to be the market leader, and for you to be able to communicate to them what the market trends are.
Yeah.
And if you have communicated to them with your experience and your expertise, and you've explained to them what the market is doing, and the reason you asked me this has already happened to me. So that's why I'm doing such a good job answering your question, because I have had to let clients go.
Yeah.
And I simply would tell them that they need to go ahead and work with someone else. And I would more than likely be the person who hooked them up with the lender for them to get pre-approved. I simply send a polite email to the lender that says, please be advised that I will no longer be providing real estate services to this client.
Do they come correct after that? Is that like a warning shot, or once you let them know it's over, it's over? It's over.
That's it. Cool. Because it takes a minute for me to even get there. I give them a lot of shots, and I do have a 3-strike rule. And to me, that's enough, because I shouldn't have to we should both be pulling from the same side of the rope to ensure success for the both of us.
100%.
I always tell them, I don't get paid to show homes. I get paid to sell homes.
Yeah.
They need to understand that. And when they don't, and they are not following your rules, and when I say rules, I'm talking about things of not to do, and that goes back to the buyer etiquette. I try my best to have interviews with these people up front so that they can understand what my expectations are of them as well. And you can do that as many times as you want. And some people, they won't bend. I thought I went from A to all the way to Z to this client, and then she ended up back at A because I had a long conversation explaining to her what the market was doing, and she could not wrap her head around offering 110 on a property that's 100,000, and said that she wasn't going to do it, and told me that she's going to get a second opinion. I think you know what happened after that.
You said, "I'm sorry to inform you, but I will no longer be representing you."
I sent an email.
Can you imagine the worst part is they go through the transaction and then later on they come back. So if you don't fire them up front, then you got to deal with it again and again. So
when I cut them off, that is the end. They know right away that they can't come back. And that means I block them out, because I don't want to get into a piston match or a fight. Right. But if I let them down and I'm polite to them and say, okay, when that person told me that she's going to get a second opinion, I kind of laughed it off and told her, work with your second opinion then. And you have a good evening.
Yep. I love it. So last question for you. What's next? So what's next for you?
Well, I bought 2 lots in Florida, and I'm getting ready to start building new construction homes. So I'm a new real estate developer now.
Congratulations. That's exciting. Yeah. And
I am getting ready to put together my real estate investor courses for sale. I'm drumming up my coaching, my real estate coaching, and I am getting together my real estate courses for real estate agents.
Amazing. All right. Well, I can't wait to see everything that you're doing. And I just got to say thank you so much for taking the time. And I personally, when I started talking to you on Facebook chat, this was selfish for me. I was like, whether or not she wants to record, I got to know how like for me, I'm fascinated by how people can build a successful business and then go on to scale. So this was all for me. So I want to thank you selfishly. And I'm also grateful that my audience gets to have access to you as well. And then where can people find you? What's the best way for people to find you?
I have a public figure page on Facebook. All they have to do is type my name in. And I have websites. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. If any women are watching, Top Women in Real Estate, that's my real estate group. I'm 12,000 members strong in that group. I'm very approachable. You can just inbox me just like everybody else does, either on my personal page or my public figure page. That's the easiest way to catch me, because this phone. Anyway, I'm on Facebook most of the time. I'm very consistent with being there. I check most of the day. In between my little breaks, when I do have breaks in between, when I kind of, sit back and relax a little bit, I check my Facebook inbox a lot, even in the areas that you don't normally see your messages for people who are not friends on your page. Wow. I check.
I never look there.
You could be. I hurt myself one time for not looking there, because I ended up with a lot of business in there that I didn't get from not looking in there. There's a lot of business in those other. Not
in mine. I get some interesting requests in there. Those but not a lot of bots. Actually, I get a lot of bots in there. But so best way for people to find you is on Facebook.
Facebook is my jam too. Real estate and Facebook is my jam. I'm there either putting fun. The other thing I wanted to touch on before I go, one last thing. The best thing to do, the best thing to do for your Facebook is to always add value and let people see the real you. Everybody else says you should separate your business from your personal, and I think the total opposite. Most of all, your clientele in your business is going to come from your Facebook page, your personal one, and you just mix it all in. Not too much real estate, not too much personal, mix it in, and that's how you get your audience. Learn how to get people to engage with you. You engage by asking a question to make them speak back to you.
Yep.
Learn how to do indirect marketing. You need to ask a question, or you need to congratulate someone. That's the way I get a lot of my business, is just by congratulating someone. I'm a real estate instructor, so I'm congratulating someone who paid for my course. Now I'm getting inboxes about people asking me, how do they enroll in my real estate course, since I got the instructor's license in Wisconsin. And that's about it I wanted to say.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.